Well, hello, I'm David Rotout, and today we and my group are going to present our project, which is about diversity and inclusion in business. Well, first of all, basically our team members is Leslie Carranza, Rodriguez Gonzalez, and David Hurtado, who is talking right now, are basically in charge of the whole project. I want to show you guys why it's super important to talk about diversity and inclusion in the business. Well, first of all, let's remember some of the topics that we learned in the past about the importance of leaders. As you know, leaders basically is the person the person responsible to basically lead a group of people. In this case, these people are called team members. However, as you know, a leader is the one to set the tone and basically the one to organize and have to set the culture in a company. However, what happens is that sometimes some leaders excludes some of the members by their, I don't know, by their abilities, by their knowledge, by their way of thinking. And what happens is that when they do these type of little actions, what happens is that most of the time the results will be negative. Basically the potential of the company might have it, but because of this, it will be limited. Therefore, when we talk about diversity and inclusion, there's two ways of seeing it. So there's a little question. What happens if we consider diversity and inclusion? What happens if we do not consider? Well, the first part, what happens if we consider? What usually happens is that the results will be super positive. Why? Because basically when we consider diversity and inclusion for our employees in our culture of an organization, the productivity and the level of happiness will be super high. Well, on the other side, if we don't consider if we don't consider diversity and inclusion, the productivity and the level of happiness will be super low. And that's why I said before that basically the potential might be there. However, it will be limited because people would not give their full effort because they're not being taken in consideration in their work job. Well, now the next question is, what position are we going to take in? Because these topics are really controversial because some people think that we should not use diversity and inclusion, and other people think we should. In this case, what position are we taking? That diversity and inclusion in work environment must be considered and taken into consideration when doing the hiring and work process in any company around the world. So basically, we agree that diversity and inclusion should be applied. So as argument one, we're going to start by this little funny equation that says greater diversity equals increase in creativity and innovation. So why am I saying this? The reason is that when we have a greater diversity, what happens that the group is going to improve a lot of aspects. So therefore, I'm going to mention Rocio Lorenzo and Martin Rivas on 2018, their article that says that diverse companies, which means that they consider every single aspect, they respect the culture, they respect their people, they care about their people that they work with. What happens is they usually have a 19% increase in innovation revenue. And how is this possible? Basically, because when somebody is considered in a job, they actually, respect them, they actually care about them, they actually be included in many other projects of the organization. What happens is that they feel happy. Like I said, this usually causes a level of happiness uh, super high. So what happens to this? By having these like positive results, this will basically increase a high production, a high customer service rate, and innovative ideas. Because by having different perspective, we can actually have many more solutions to any problem that we can have. And well, next thing we have is about talent retention. What does this mean? Basically means that a company is trying to keep their employees because they see that their talent is super useful for their processes. However, how does this affect a company if we use diversity and inclusion? But what happened is that basically with diversity and inclusion, we're basically using engagement with the employee because any person will be always appreciated when is valued and respected. So we always want to meet their expectations and keep them happy with us. Therefore, in the study of Abigail Matsumoto tells us that when you link between inclusion and job satisfaction, for example, what happens is that 70% of the workers will be satisfied with their job. And with the satisfaction leads better results. Therefore, there'll be 68% of good opportunities to create better ideas and basically have like better opportunities and to embrace these talents of our employees. Because basically in any company, the most important element is the employees, because they're the ones in a daily basis working and making the company run. So now after this, a super important topic is about business reputation. So let me start with the question: how does diversity and inclusion changes the perspective of clients? We gotta keep in mind that nowadays, the clients have different perspective from compared to into the past. Nowadays, people are trying to see if these companies actually care about their employees. They actually care about them. They actually worry about if they're okay, if they're actually, happy, if they're actually, basically be an ethical and social responsible company. Therefore, to attract people and basically, show them that they actually care, here's what we need to implement diversity and inclusion. And well, personally, I work at Target, and corporate Target basically is one of the companies that actually uses and implements and actually cares about diversity and inclusion in their environments. And therefore, they actually invest like a lot of money on it. In this case, they invest almost like 1.78 billion on basically to give opportunities to all people. And also, they've been promoted by 30% of people of color, which is a super great data, because it shows actually like, okay, yeah, and people actually see Target as a really reliable, really ethical, and super responsible in their people, and actually care about them. Last but not least is to end the argument one is basically the positive organizational culture. What does this mean? What happens is that when we're trying to be diverse and inclusive, we need to be able to create a positive organizational culture. But how is this possible? As you know, people are different. All people around in a company have different ideas, have different ways of seeing things. So the best way of doing these little practices of a positive culture is to communicate and collaborate. Reason why is because when you communicate and collaborate with these people, teamwork will be improved, because people around them, they will understand each other, what they want and what they see. And from there, you can have like open mind and, try to see what will be the best solution for certain things. And also, by being collaborative, the motivation of the people that are working with you in your team will be super, super like excited to work and trying their best to get the best result out of it, because they know that they will be included and be like appreciated for their work. And now, here's a real question. So I've been talking about communication and collaboration. So what is the best way to communicate? So I'm going to mention Timothy, Brent, and Terrelyn. They call this the language of diversity. So don't worry, basically what we've seen in the past is basically to use the right words to embrace respect and understanding between people. That's what the meaning of language of diversity. Well, after finishing this argument, I'm going to pass to my colleague, Leslie.
Next, I will explain the composition of argument number 2, a fundamental piece in diversity and inclusion in teamwork. Science the member of the team by working together in their skill and knowledge, which improves their delivery. Various organizations are taking measures to highlight equality among their employees. There are many cases where people who occupy the same position but are of different sex receive different salaries. The company Google is a clear example of the organization that seeks to work as a team because it is recognized that high performance is achieved and productivity improved. It is now that Google investigates the dynamic of the work. This consists of 200 interviews with the staff and obtain as a result that with teamwork a better performance is obtained. Next slide, please. Secondly, it is essential that within work environments there is diversity in works, whether by a gay sex, culture, and abilities. However, there is a group that is being forgotten, or sometimes if they are included, they cannot aspire to better position. For example, in Spain, in 2021, approximately 65% of the people with disability did not have a job. For example, another example, in Peru, there are people who, due to medical condition, are not considered for the formal jobs. With day by day, they're exposed their life in the streets. For example, IBM, renowned for its work in computer science, is proved to implement hiring for people with disability. It is also important to mention that this company encourages its employees to participate in programs focused on disabilities awareness. Next slide, please. Inclusion within organizations can be encouraged by having fair treatment and ethical conducts. The treatment has to be equal for all areas of the work. In addition, within this behavior, the bosses have to take a fair hiring practice, which consists of giving salaries corresponding to the law, vacations, and above all, providing training in culturally conscious issues and creating a work environment. One of the organizations that offer all these criteria to its collaborators is UNICEF. It is platform they have a is the platform has category called diversity and inclusive workforces in part of UNICEF DNA. Would explain how his organization is formed, had staff from different countries, and promoted their learning so that in the future they are great leaders. Then I will go with my partner Francisco. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Francisco González del Riego, and I'm going to talk about the argument number 3, that is about diversity improve decision making in organization. Well, to start, diversity in the work environment plays a crucial role in improving decision making in organization by incorporating diverse perspectives, experiences, and skills. An enriched environment is created that encourages stronger and more informed decisions. This argument is based on the premise that diversity appears from a variety of ideas and approaches, which has a positive impact on a company's ability to innovate and solve problems efficiently. Including diverse voices and perspectives in decision-making process, it helps to identify more creative and original solutions. For example, in an article from Harvard Business Review, as we can see there, it mentions that inclusive leaders are more receptive to diverse ideas and perspectives, which this stimulates the generation of new solutions and approaches that help to these leaders to seek for different points of view and foster an environment where ideas are valued regardless of their origin. Next, please. For example, here is a figure that the previous article was based on, and where we can see that inclusive leader improve by 70% individual feeling of inclusion, because increase in experience of fairness, respect, value, and belonging, physical safety, and also inspiration. Also, this helps increasing by 70% team performance, also increasing in 20% in decision-making quality, and increasing 29% in team collaboration. Next, please. Well, in addition, diversity in the work environment increase the range of points of views in decision making. According to the report, Diversity Wins, How Inclusion Matter, it is pointed out that diversity in the composition of management team is related to a greater probability of making more effective decisions. This report indicates that more diverse organizations tend to consider a wide variety of options and perspectives before making important decisions. This results in more informed and accurate decisions, as we saw previously. Next, please. Diversity in the decision-making process also contributes to reducing cognitive biases. These biases are preconceived patterns of thinking that can influence in decision-making and limit consideration of alternatives and different perspectives. By including people from diverse backgrounds, it is possible to identify and challenge these cognitive biases, allowing for more objective decision-making based on a fuller evaluation of the ability information. An example for this is a study from McKinsey & Company. That this study concludes that companies with more gender diversity on management teams were found to be 21% more likely to make more effective decisions. By considering a variety of perspectives and skill, organization can overcome gender biases and make the most of abilities, talent, and experiences. Now David is going to present the conclusion.
To end our presentation of today with exclusion and recommendations, well, first of all, as we've seen in our ideas that we just presented, that basically diversity and inclusion will increase in productivity and basically have a better work environment. The reason is because when we embrace diversity, basically we're gonna get the best out of each worker, and you know, in terms of their talents and their creativity and their ideas, and basically the whole company and culture will change drastically in something better. And basically the happiness index will be one of the main reasons why productivity will be better, and the environment will be super great for any person, because nowadays is a topic that we should also consider all the time, because you know, all members should be considered. All ideas are not bad ideas. We can always get the best out of it. Then the other part about we need to foster diversity for hiring processes. So this was mentioned by my colleague Ashley, because we need to really consider that when we're trying to doing the hiring process, and well, this means that we should all include anybody that actually has abilities without discriminating, without judging, to be of value to the company, because I'm pretty sure anybody has something to give. something to embrace, something to show that what they can do. So being inclusive, being diverse in the hiring process is super important too, because nowadays some companies, not every company, just because of your ethnicity or probably by your color, you might not have passed even the interview process. So with this, basically means that you're kind of limiting the abilities or potential ideas that can actually help your company. Therefore, when you do the hire process, you gotta be diverse. Don't judge the book by its cover. Now, the last thing that my colleague Francisco talked about is basically diversity and inclusion is one of the main reasons why decision making are way better if you consider them. Why? Because the thing is that when you have diversity and inclusion, because you're basically gathering all the ideas, all the creative ideas, innovations, basically have a super big range of options that you can choose, and considering everybody else perspective, you can basically do a better and informed decision making. Because most of the time, people that don't consider these aspects, the decision that they think is best, sometimes is not the best. Sometimes it will make their employees, instead of being happy, will be more upset and frustrated. And also to just keep in mind that the main reason about diversity and inclusion basically is to minimize cognitive biases, like I was mentioned before. So basically, after everything said in our presentation, is that every company and leader should always consider diversity and inclusion, because it's a really reliable option which embrace all differences. It also it helps you to learn from the people that you're working with, and also a distinct culture have distant values, and from these values you can have a bigger perspective and a bigger open mind of how the world works. Well, now a couple of recommendations for all actual and future leaders is to always keep this concept clear in your mind about diversity and inclusion, and in the culture and the processes, and I think in everything should be always included and always aware of it. Because like I said, most workers and customers are always checking if the company is always supporting the diversity and inclusion, because like I said, people want to be happy than sad. And that's the main reasons that we should always keep this in mind. And also the people that are our customers are always trying to spend their money. What I'm trying to say that they prefer spending their money in the company that actually cares about them, that actually are ethical, rather than a company that is not. Well, in terms of productivity, diversity and inclusion will always increase these aspects, because keeping your employee happy will always give the best results out of it. Yeah, at the end, like I said, is to always embrace our differences, and so basically make sure that all team members are understanding themselves. Because at the end of the day, you're the leader, you're the one that's supposed to manage the plans to solve problems. And with this idea of diversity and inclusion, you'll be able to basically avoid any conflicts in the process and be super efficient with it by using the language by using also the language of diversity. Well, that'll be all for today. Thank you so much for hearing our presentation, and we'll be seeing you next time.